Hi, welcome to another Witch Doctors How To. Today we're going to show you how to remove the front wheel on a Victory Highball. And this is virtually the same on all the bikes, whether it's a Hammer, Jackpot, cross country. The idea of what we're doing is virtually the same. Some of the bikes with the fender, you may have to jack the bike up a little bit higher to get the wheel out, or monkey with the fender and loosen it up to get the wheel out a little bit easier if you can't jack the bike up. The other thing is, on this bike we only have one rotor and caliper. On, say, a Hammer, cross country, you have two rotors and two calipers. So you would have to unbolt the caliper on the other side, but that's really the only difference. Everything here is basically the same. So the couple things you want to do is you have these bolts here, which are 6mm. You use an Allen wrench. That is the axle pinch bolts, and you have them on each side. You have the axle itself here. Most of the newer bikes, most of the 08 nut bikes are 14mm. You have your caliper bolts back here, the caliper mounting bolts. Those are 8mm Allen. So what you want to do is, it's nothing hard. You just break those loose, and the caliper will come off. It'll come right off. You don't lose any oil or anything like that. Okay, the caliper just pulls right back. Now's a good time to check your brake pads. That's your brake pads inside there. It's a good time to check them, see if they're worn down or not. You can just let that hang there. Now the other thing you're going to want to do is these front axle pinch bolts. Like I said, those are 6mm. You don't have to take these all the way out. Just loosen them up. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Now everything's loose. You can see we got the bike jacked up a little bit. Now you're just going to loosen up your axle. And you want to make sure that this other side doesn't unscrew loose. This is like a nut actually kind of on that side. You can see that we're loosening the axle, but this will actually unscrew. It's kind of like a little stud nut type thing that goes in there. So now basically your axle's loose. So you can sit here and you can unscrew it all day long. It won't come out. You want to kind of push in here with either your finger. On a newer bike, it'll come out pretty easy. On an older bike, that may be frozen in there a little bit. So you might have to take like a dowel rod or something and kind of pound it a little bit. This is kind of the same as taking the rear wheel off. You want to lift up on the wheel a little bit and get the pressure off of that axle. So then you want to kind of twist the axle and get the weight off a little bit. And this is again a job if you have a helper. You can kind of, I use the socket to kind of pull this out, but it still is kind of hard. This one we're going to tap it through a little bit. You don't want to put something in that you're hitting your threads, because you'll goof your threads up. You just want to get it coming out enough. You can see it coming through. And then you can maybe grab a hold of it a little bit better now. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So you just kind of keep working it. There you go. So now what you want to do is you want to hold up on the wheel, because if you pull that right out, the wheel will just fall. You also have a spacer in here. There's one on each side of the wheel. You want to make sure you keep that spacer on, you know, whichever side that comes off. You don't want to cross them up, because when you go to put it back together, you'll put it in there and nothing will match up right, and you'll be wondering what's wrong. Well, you got the spacers in the wrong spot. So just lift up, pull that out. You can see this is fairly new. It's got still a little bit of grease on it. So you pull that out, and then just kind of jiggle the wheel out, and just watch you don't hit your fender and dent your fender up. That's basically all there is to it. You can see there's a spacer here, and on the other side there's another spacer, and you can see they're different widths, so you want to make sure you don't screw them up. Now, if you want to take your brake rotor off, all you do is unbolt these bolts right here. Your rotor will come right off, and that's all there is to really taking the wheel out. Everything's done. What I like to do is put your axle back in. If you're not going to put the wheel back on right away, put your axle back in, slide a spacer on, slide the other spacer on, and just kind of put it back in there. That way you keep track of where the spacers went. You won't lose any of the bolts. Screw your little nut in that side, and everything's back together, and you're all set, all ready to go. That's about how hard it is. That was nothing fancy. Would that take us about 5 minutes to take the wheel off? So nothing major. Just make sure you have the bike supported good. You know, you can see we have it tied down. You don't want it to wobble on you and fall off. You don't need a lift table. You can do this just as easy on the ground with a floor jack or a bike jack. It'll come off just as easy. That's all there is to it. Thanks for watching.